Blacklisting bosses should do too. 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 Justice.
Okay, I'd like to just take a few minutes. We're going to have a few speakers here from the unions that are involved in the campaign against blacklisting, and also from the Blacklisting Support Group, and from Neil Finlay MSP, who is putting on an event at the Parliament today. Firstly, I'd like to say that Unite the Union has been working on the blacklisting issue for a long time. We've been fighting back in the blacklisting issue. We've taken the fight to the Scottish Parliament. We've taken the fight to the Westminster Parliament with our work with the Scottish Affairs Committee. We've taken the fight to Crossrail, and we will continue fighting until we get justice for every single blacklisted worker. Now, we've been fighting and we've been winning, and the cross-union campaign against blacklisting has had a massive victory today. We would very much welcome the guidance that's been announced by the Scottish Government that will affect future blacklisting future contracts being awarded in the public sector. There's been an announcement today in the Parliament that there's now going to be tight guidelines, and we look forward to that bringing about no more public contracts for blacklisting companies. But as I said, our fight will go on. That is not the end of the story. We need tighter, more stronger laws against blacklisting so that people are able to prove that they've been blacklisted. We need real compensation. That is real compensation, not the paltry compensation that's been offered. Real compensation for workers that have been affected by blacklisting. We need a proper public inquiry into blacklisting in Scotland. And most of all, we need, for those who are still of working age, we need blacklisted workers to have jobs, real jobs in the construction industry, so that they can have their dignity and their livelihoods back. And Unite will continue fighting with anybody else who wants to fight for blacklisted workers until we achieve that for every single blacklisted worker. Thank you.
Somebody said it's cold. It's not cold yet, is it? I'll tell you what I was thinking and what I was going to say today is that the blacklist affected us all. Those people are on that file, their lives were partially ruined or fully ruined. I remember the period of 8 years when I couldn't get a job and things like that. And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, man, that must be over, surely. The blacklist must be over. You know, these people have been closed down. No. What we know is that blacklisting continues. It just isn't being forced into the open. And that's our job. Because we've seen recently some issues. Somewhere, you know, at Grangemouth and other places. Young shop stewards. The future of our industry, the future of this trade union movement, being picked on, being threatened, or actually sacked, and it was all the union organisation on the ground that saved them, and that's what we should be proud of, because that's the issue at the end of the day, is about building trade unions. You see, when the employers came and they said, and they met with the blacklisting reps, and they said, why don't we give you £1,000? £1,000 for people who have made billions of pounds. Because we know the rates for the industry. We know the terms and conditions. If we had good union organisation, if we had no blacklisting, if people could stand up and site huts and say this is wrong, and then organise that site and make sure that safety was paramount, that terms and conditions were pushed up. That's what has happened. That's the legacy of the blacklist. Everybody who was cowed, everybody who was crushed by the blacklist meant another pound in the boss's pocket. And that's what they have to pay for. So it isn't £1,000. We ain't looking for £1,000. We're looking for them to get punished extremely hard. And if anybody needs a sub when I get my money, just form a little line, right? Because I'll be handing it out. But I think that we should punish them in other ways. We should demand all those construction companies put in millions of pounds into health and safety. We need money to make sure that the industries are safe. And we could punish them. In other words, we demand that they pay for the health and safety, because we know right now health and safety executive, people who are responsible for us to bring in when things are unsafe, are actually getting threatened right now. So the fight that we started 50, 60, 40 years ago, and it resulted in some blacklisting for the Economic League and whatever. Hello, Roseanne. I'm ready. I'm really finished. You did say a couple of minutes. But actually, we are here. We are winning. And we wouldn't be cowed. The reason for the leverage strategy in Unite was because of the trade union laws. Because we had to find other ways and means to be able to put pressure on the bosses. But they should change the laws, and there wouldn't be any leverage strategy. We wouldn't come to their bloody houses, right? Some nice houses I visited on my travels. But nevertheless, what we need is unity. That's unity against the bosses, but unity across workers. This is not a union. This is about us, strong trade unionists, fighting back and being proud of our record as being blacklisted. But we want no more blacklisting, and we want compensation, and we want these companies to have no public contracts. We will be harassing these companies through the Parliament I'll shut up.
Greetings from the GMB to this demonstration here, and to all the demonstrations that are taking place up and down the country on this day of action on blacklisting. A week today, the GMB will be back at the High Court. We've got 70 claims in, 15 of them involving workers from Scotland, because there has been a disproportionate amount of Scottish workers who have been blacklisted over the last 30 years. And the claims that we've got are, first of all, a claim of conspiracy, because the Consulting Association was set up for the sole purpose of blacklisting. So they are part, not of a conspiracy theory, but a conspiracy in practice. The other charge that's been levelled next week in the High Court is one of defamation, because we know that a lot of the information is irrelevant. We know a lot of the information that was kept is plain wrong, but it was used and passed around nonetheless to defame people. You know, just last Friday, the Information Commissioner's Office was forced to hand over all of the files unredacted to the union's lawyers. And in amongst those files, we've already discovered things like this. Somebody had against their name, very bad news Buddhist. So there's a real problem we've got to tackle, a mountain of conspiracy and the depths of defamation. But we'll be back in court next week, because this is not just about a few bad apples, it's about a rotten system all the way through, and for decades as well. So we'll be using the courts as part of an extra parliamentary strategy. We'll be using local authorities too, because local authorities up and down the country have been leading the fight to stop blacklisting companies procuring for public contracts, but we'll be involved in extra parliamentary activity on the streets too, because the street is just as important as that chamber in there is in getting change in a democratic country. Parliament, the Scottish Affairs Select Committee, has pioneered the way in exposing what's been going on. And today the Scottish Parliament too has been working with the trade unions to get new procurement guidance out there. Because John Swinney said earlier on this year, there can be no place in Scotland for blacklisting. Those words need to be translated into action. And that's what we're here to achieve. I'll finish up by saying a couple of things. One is that Demands of this campaign is simple, easily understandable. The demands of the campaign are own up, clean up and pay up. That's all we're looking for. Own up, clean up and pay up. And I'll finish with this. The old trade union banners used to have a slogan on them, many of them, and it was this: justice for each is justice for all. And that's all we're looking for today. Thanks for your support. Keep at it.
Thanks, Roseanne. Can I congratulate you all for being here and campaigning for gay marriage? Or am I at the wrong demo? I think I must be at the wrong demo, but I'm sure you will join all the people over there later to campaign for that as well. Can I say that 10 minutes before coming out here, the Scottish Government gave in and they have now agreed to introduce strong procurement legislation to prevent blacklisters from getting public contracts.
Yeah.
Is it any coincidence that that's happened today? I don't think so. Would it have harmed if we hadn't run these campaigns, if we hadn't lobbied Parliament and we hadn't put down all the motions and questions and you hadn't been on the streets? I certainly don't think so. So congratulations to every one of the people here, but most importantly to every one of the people who campaigned, who have been blacklisted and who remains to get justice for what happened to them. And I absolutely believe that justice is coming. There's been a huge range of developments that have happened since we last gathered here, and I'll talk about that when we go inside, so we'll go over that in there. One of the things that we don't have as yet is a public inquiry into this human rights abuse, because that's what this is. We have a public inquiry running over a year, the Levison inquiry, because some crap actors got their phones hacked. But you don't have a public inquiry when thousands of ordinary working people are denied employment because of the actions of some of the biggest corporations in this country. We should demand that public inquiry. So, at the moment, we also have some of the companies setting up a compensation scheme. Well, if you look at the terms of that compensation scheme, I think it's quite right that people have told them to stuff it if that's the terms that they expect to settle on. And again, we can discuss that further inside. What we'll do, just to let you know, we have to get passes when we go in. We're going to committee room 3, Tommy, is it? Committee room 3. We need to get passes when we go in, so we'd probably be best get in pretty soon. I know it's cold as well. We go in so we get everybody through and we get a good hour or 3/4 an hour to discuss some of the issues and we get an update on what's happened over the last wee while. Thanks very much for coming. Keep it up. Victory's coming and justice is coming.